Numbers 2, 18, 17, and 18. But the firstborn of a herd animal, or the firstborn of a sheep, or the firstborn of a goat, you will not redeem. They are holy. You will splash their blood on an altar, and will burn their fat as a fire offering, as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Now, what it's saying is these animals are used for the sacrifice. Usually the firstborn of animals, this cattle, sheep, and goat, they're usually the most strongest, and then the youngest is usually the runt. So it's usually they're the strongest, which is seen as the best. So the best is given to the Lord for sacrifice. You know, we got Jesus for our sacrifice. He was the best that could be given. But it's whether they're given or not, it mentions they're holy. So they're already accredited to God for them to be given. It's just whether are they going to be obedient to give God what is His or not. All was recognized by God because they were blessed by Him, and God could have took from them what He wanted to, took it away from them. But by them giving Him the best, it showed that they accepted that He was Lord of all they had. It showed by them giving the best that they weren't willing to keep what they had left from Him if He chose to take it from them. Now, fat represented sin. So the fat on the altar burns. It shows that the sin is put behind them, is forgiven. And then the blood also symbolizes life. So the blood gets drained, so the animal dies. So their life is going to be represented. Their sin that they committed in their life is forgiven by the sacrifice. And now the part that's remained after the fat gets burned is the part that's eaten. Part of it's kept for the priest, but then the person who offers it up takes part of it as well. Verse 18. Their flesh will be yours, as the wave breast and the right shoulder are yours. Now this is the part that they get to keep. It's saying they get to eat this part. Now, it was the priest would have a part to eat, and then the people would have a part to eat. And the fat would get burned up, as our sins will be either forgiven or will get burned up because of our sins. Today, we don't got to go through all the sacrificial things. We don't do these sacrifices because we have Jesus who died for us, and He gave us His all. We partake in that by receiving the Spirit that He left for us. Also, the sacrificial system wasn't just something done by those of the Bible. We see how the pagan people also offered sacrifices. We see Paul talking about it in the New Testament about they offered stuff up to idols. Now these regulations for it were strictly for the Jews of how they did their sacrifice. The sacrifice was a symbol of their commitment, their service. It showed that they had faith to follow into obedience by keeping each detail. It was their faith shown through the obedience. We see how later they didn't do the sacrifices right. That's because their faith wasn't where it needed to be, and so their obedience fell off a little to where they weren't doing it the way they were supposed to. When we truly give the Lord our best, we got to have faith in Him. And when we do that, it'll show through our obedience to serve Him. You know, when we see the breast and the shoulder meat there left, oftentimes this was it's the majority of the meat. God left for them what was best for them to eat. The fat is unhealthy. Fat gets burned up. God leaves, if we give back to Him, it benefits us. It's best for us. It's putting what we can't handle into His hands and having Him give back to us blessings in return. Our obedience will receive blessings from Him if we do the things out of faith, if we do them out of love and obedience to Him, if we do them out of any other motive behind it, we've already received it. If we've already received our blessing, then we're doing it to get praised by others. That is our blessing. Better to get praise from God by doing what is right.